A lot of people are like, why did you wait 10 years to launch your album? And I'm like, honestly, it's because I was not living the gospel I was singing. And I had to wait to be living it. I met Jesus in my dad.
Oh, wow.
That's how I got to know him. So when I met Jesus for myself, I don't know how to explain it other than it's like I recognized him because I'd seen him all my life. My only desire growing up was to get married and have babies. That was it. I had no career or grant. A lot of people were like, Rebekah Dawn Kutembea is her breakout song, her first song. And I'm like, are you people joking me? I've already written like 40 songs for NLC. Then I think people were also shocked to see it was a white girl.
Yeah.
Because they'd heard it. But now they're singing Mzungu sing it and they're like, okay, wait, what is this? So
pull up.
When we get to heaven, I think the Lord is going to call us to account, not for the souls we won, but for the souls we kept. The same way I don't think parents should brag on the babies they birthed.
Yeah.
I think parents brag on the babies they raised.
Yeah. So like Nai, do the gig anywhere else at night, but not Nyayo. Nyayo, that was a cold night.
That was so cold.
So maybe that's the night that we met, like you're saying.
I didn't even stay all night that night. I just remember I had either I met them that night. No, but I met them at
officially, maybe properly at Pete's album launch.
Yes, Pete's album.
But I've known probably that's the night that we met first. But what I do remember, with a good recollection, probably would be City Lights. You guys used to do what is the youth group called?
City Lights.
Yeah.
Extreme Weekend?
No. Used to do the small events. And there's one you did at Village Market.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And Village Market had an amphitheater, if I'm not wrong.
Yes. And I emceed that event.
Yeah, and I don't even remember
And there was
DJing.
that guy for this dance.
Yeah.
Kumalo. Something
Chumalo.
like that. Chingmalo.
Yeah, there's a guy called...
I don't remember.
Badimalo.
No, it wasn't that. It was something else. But I remember he was so famous. And he would wear overalls.
Yeah,
and he would do this
called
dance.
Chumalo.
Yes.
Used to call him, I think his song was called Chumalo. But yeah.
Okay, now that event I remember at Village.
Now that one I remember. I didn't DJ, but I remember coming for that event.
Yes.
And I was just trying to find spaces where young people gravitate.
Yeah.
Because,
when
being
you had
a new
dreads.
believer, I had dreadlocks.
I remember.
Yeah. And I was trying to fit into this space and... So that one I remember meeting you.
Yes.
And being introduced to Akina Pastor Z was there at that time.
Jemo.
Mm-hmm. And Jemo had met him now through family media. James Okumu.
Mm-hmm.
And he came up with the name Kubamba.
Did he?
Yeah.
Wow. But I remember from that point on, Kubamba and us, City Lights, we did a lot of, DJ a lot of our events.
I mean, I was the only one.
We do outreaches. It's true.
I was the only one in
It
Kubamba
literally
that
was
time.
you. And Jagush would hang around.
Yes. I mean, I've met Jagush in 2001. Yeah.
So
that first...
Hey, man. So we knew you before anyone knew you.
I mean, we go way back. We go back. You are... In fact, I think, Rebekah, you're one of my oldest friends.
Yeah.
As a Christian.
I'd honestly say the same. I'd say the same as a past childhood. You're one of my oldest friends.
Yeah, because, I mean, not many people know me in my early years of Christianity.
Yeah.
And so, but then also City Lights and Nairobi Lighthouse Church had such an impact in my life. There was like one solid year in 2001 when I came to your church and I needed to be in your church for that solid year.
Oh, that's cool.
Because there's a lot of things that I needed to learn as a new believer.
Yeah.
And the only place that I could learn...
When did you get saved?
In 1999, September.
Wow. So this was really, truly at the beginning of your walk with God.
Yes, because in 2000, I don't even know what I was doing with church. I'm still trying to discover myself, playing in the clubs and being in the church.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out the decision that I've made.
Yeah.
And it was very clear about my decision, my conscious decision to follow Christ. Because I did not know how to navigate through this space. And my church...
And I even remember that gig at Village Market. I don't know if you remember, we went up to the top and we were chatting about this exact thing.
Yeah,
about,
I had no...
do you gig in the club and gig in the church? Should you, shouldn't you?
In my mind, I was okay with it because I was like, this pays my bills.
Yeah.
This other one is not paying anything,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. This is for the Lord.
So I did not know what to do with it, you know. And so coming to... So the whole, like, I think in the year 2000, I was hanging a lot with all over the dance group.
Yeah.
Who were amazing friends for me.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that those guys surrounded my life.
Yeah.
Because if they were not there, then
Great
I would have
guys.
been
Yeah.
in serious funk.
Yeah.
And then now in 2001, you know, meeting you, and I think you invited me even into Nairobi Lighthouse Church. And for me being there and getting to learn about prayer, you would start church at 10 o'clock, but there was like between 9:30 and 10 o'clock, those prayers.
This is in City Stadium.
In City Stadium, yeah. And I'd come, I don't know, guys. I only know you and Mush.
Oh my gosh, bless.
You know, but it was so, like, it was very fundamental. It was, and I normally, when I talk to guys in my office, I'm like, it was a very tough year for me in terms of, you know, like from a financial perspective, because now I stopped doing the secular gigs.
Yeah.
But then was the best moment for me to get to bond with God and to get to know who God really is for me. And I think to date that my prayer life, and like, I cannot talk about my life and not highlight, Nairobi Lighthouse Church.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, and City Lights, because we did a lot of missions together as well.
So high school outreaches.
Yes.
So many.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so many.
So a big shout out to you.
And you, man. For reals.
And there's a lot I can say about your church. The worship. You guys, as in, from your dad and your mom on the keys, your dad leading with a guitar.
Seriously, our pillars, our founders. No, but truly, they taught us everything we know.
Yeah.
They set the foundation, taught everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got to ask you though, being a PK.
Yes.
You know, because that's how I got to know. By that, I initially did not even know that your dad was your dad.
Yeah.
You know, because you never introduced yourself as,
Pastor Dawn's daughter.
Pastor Dawn's daughter. You know, we're just bonding as friends.
Yeah.
Like, did that, because, you know, those years was, right now we can say we are more freer with our faith and the things that we can do. And those days, like, we had to be on the straight and narrow.
To a serious
it was
salvation.
Serious Manenos.
Very
Bana.
serious.
Yeah. Did that put like mad pressure on you being a PK?
No. I have a very unique experience, I think, just in hearing other PK stories.
Yeah.
And I really just credit my parents, honestly, because I cannot say I don't have any memory of ever being under pressure because of being a pastor's daughter. Never. I felt like I was under, I don't even say pressure. I was challenged and called up as a believer, just to be a good believer, to follow Jesus, to love him, to serve him, to be excellent. But I never felt any kind of attachment of, because I'm a pastor's daughter, because people are looking at me, because I'm under some kind of pressure to be on a higher level because my dad's the senior pastor. I just felt like I am on the same level as everyone. We all need to be good Christians and honor Christ and live lives that bring him glory. And I'm so grateful for that, because I've heard stories, you know, from other people whose valid and true experiences are so different.
Yeah.
But mine was just always so positive. My parents truly, I mean, I met Jesus in my dad.
Oh, wow.
That's how I got to know him. So when I met Jesus for myself, I don't know how to explain it other than it's like I recognized him because I'd seen him all my life.
Wow.
Through my dad and my mom. And yeah, they made me love the Lord and love the church.
Yeah.
And, I mean, honestly, I know a lot of people have a lot of stories or maybe baggage or hurt or wounds. I just don't. I'm like, I love the church.
Because most PKs, they don't end up being church kids.
I know. It's sad.
In fact, they go like the extreme opposite.
Yeah. One of the things, and I don't know if it's the main thing, but one of the things for me, I never felt like the church was my dad's mistress. I never felt like the bride of Christ was the woman that my dad was abandoning our family for.
Mm-hmm.
And I give all credit to both of my parents, my dad for that. That even though he was pastor,
Mm-hmm.
he was dad.
Mm-hmm.
He was home for dinner. He was with us. I never was like, I mean, of course there were times dad is in a meeting or mom and dad are going for a conference or things like that. Of course, yes. But I just don't have any memory of feeling abandoned or like the church is more important than us.
Mm-hmm.
Dad he just had such a healthy rhythm. All of my childhood we ate dinner together every night as a family without fail.
Wow.
It was so rare
Mm-hmm.
that either of my parents would miss dinner or, and even though Sunday was a huge ministry day and we're the PKs, so we're up early in the morning, we're there for all the services, we're home late at night.
Yeah.
Dad and mom both guarded Monday as our Sabbath, like faithfully. Monday, Dad always grilled. It was always the day Dad would get the grill out and make a big meal, and we'd spend the entire day with him. We were homeschooled a lot of our years. We used to go to a private Christian school, and then they pulled us out. So Mondays, we didn't even do school because it was just our family day. It was just day to be family. So I think that for me, that had such a positive impact.
And maybe that's why you did not rebel.
Maybe.
And go
I think so.
all the way to the other end of the world.
Yes.
Trying to run away because, I mean, if you think every Sunday as a young person, you're being dragged out of the house. Because I'm sure in your teenage years, I don't think you're waking up and thinking, man, I'm really looking forward to going to church.
Mose, I was.
Oh, for real?
I'm telling you before God, I loved it. But you see, by the time I was 14, 15, I was on the worship team.
Yes.
I was serving.
Mm-hmm.
So I was excited to go, not because, I was just excited to go because my friends are there. My world is there.
Yeah.
I loved ministry.
Mm-hmm.
After church, we'd always go out for high school ministry. Or if nothing else, we'd go to church office, to have dance practice or choir practice. And we'd always stop through town and buy chibas. And it's just like, it was the vibe. It was like, how can you miss? It was literally my life. It's actually why my parents pulled us out of school. Is the school we were in was a great school, Christian school, but it was run by Americans. And at the time I was there, 98% of the school was American. And it was mostly pastors' kids, missionaries' kids, NGOs' kids.
Yeah.
So it was an American curriculum. And yet in church, City Lights, we were one of the most white families we had in our church at any given time was 3. And this is thousands of people.
Yeah.
When we were back in City Stadium. We started our youth group and my parents very quickly realized the youth group is going to need to be run around the British school system because all of our church members, save us and 2 other families, are on the British school system.
Yeah.
And so, when summer vacation is, when holidays are, it's completely different to the American school system.
Yeah.
And so my parents were like, the older our kids get, their world is going to be school.
Yeah.
That's where their friends are. That's where their activities are. Because when they're on break, that's when the Kenyans and all of our church members are in school. So that we won't put any youth events then because we have to put youth events when the youth are on break or when the youth can make it.
Yeah.
So they're like, no, we don't want this to happen because it's just inevitable that it'll be our kids are in school events and then youth events are happening at a different time. And they really wanted us to be involved. And so they pulled us out of school and started homeschooling us and put us, even though we were doing an American curriculum, we weren't doing the American calendar.
Yeah.
So we would do the British calendar. So when our friends are on school break, so are we.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's when missions trips are being planned for. And my parents were like, we want them to go. I never missed a missions trip. My world became the choir and the dance team and City Lights and our cell groups and missions and Sunday afternoons. And that was life.
Actually,
in fact, when we were really young, that's how my parents would punish us is, Aya, you've done something wrong. You're not going for City Lights. Like that was
oh man.
What?
You're going to miss out on your friends.
You can't miss out. That's
actually
life.
most of your friends, are Kenyans.
All of them.
All of them.
I mean, I had a couple of American friends as maybe 10, 11, 12. But yeah, by the time I was 15, 16, 17, the American families that were in our church that had kids my age, they'd left. So, yeah.
And, you've said that from a very young age, you are involved in the youth, in leading worship.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did you never thought you could do something more with your music apart from just singing in church? Did that ever occur?
Actually, to be honest, I never even thought I would be singing in church. Like, it was never something I had any ambition or any desire.
Mm-hmm.
My only desire growing up was to get married and have babies. That was it. I had no career or grant. I was just like, I'm going to get me a husband and I'm going to have me a whole bunch of kids and I'm just going to bake and cook and be a homemaker. That's all I really wanted.
Wow.
And I, as a teenager, I had a crush on this guy for the longest time. I was like, this is it. The Lord has spoken. This is who I'm going to marry. And I finished school and he still hadn't married me. And I was like, I need to do something with my life. And so I was like, well, I mean, at this point, I'm already volunteering on the worship team as a piano player, as a singer. So I went to Hillsong, literally just out of, I'm not married yet. So I might as well. I mean, you know, what does the scripture say? A single woman's devotion is fully to the Lord.
Yes.
So I'm like, well, Lord, you've got my time. I'll do it. So I never have felt really gifted at music. I don't think it's a natural skill for me. I think it's all learned and acquired and practiced very hard. And then I came home from Hillsong and nobody had married me. So I was like, well, all right.
There were no proposals in Australia. Sorry, Allan.
No, I did. I mean, there were a couple of guys here and there, but again, I was very focused on this one guy for the longest time. Mm-hmm. And honestly, looking back, God just uses all things for good, because I think God used that guy to save me for Allan, because it was like Allan did not come into my world until years later.
Yeah.
So all the guys that would have maybe asked me out or whatever, I was so focused on this one individual that it was just an automatic no. And then by the time I realized this isn't going to work, everyone who would have married me was already married. And so now I was like, well, all right, Lord, you've got my whole life. And then when Allan came into my world, I was like, now it's all making sense why things happened the way they happened. Back,
it makes sense in hindsight.
It does. God is so intentional.
When you're going through it, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's the ghetto. But yeah. So I never really, everything that I do musically is a surprise to me. I'm like shocked that I am doing what I'm doing. I cannot believe I'm doing it. To this day, I'm like, Lord, I don't know why you picked me, but thank you.
And yet when you sing, it's so effortless. True?
Well, I'm glad it looks that way. I would not call it effortless. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I'm deaf in one ear. I'm deaf in my left ear.
Even I did not know.
Yeah. Since I was an infant. Yeah, it's just not a natural thing for me. Even production. Like, I'm so glad I got into production, but it was a complete fluke almost. I mean, now, of course, I would say it's God. But at the time, it wasn't something that I was like, okay, I'm going to start producing music and I'm going to start a studio and I'm going to open a studio. It all just, the initial plan was I had written some worship songs that we did in my church. And I had such a heart to equip not our church NLC, but the churches that we've planted in Africa. Yeah. And, you know, I'd gone and visited these churches, and these are like tiny little worship teams. And I was like, man, I want to just equip them. I want to help them. I want to be involved in helping them. Yeah. So the idea initially was, well, let's just go. By that time, God had opened the door to a producer in Zimbabwe who I loved his music, and we connected. And so I was like, well, let me just record a few songs. But the point of this is to raise money for our churches and our worship teams, and to kind of show anyone who would be interested, like, this is the kind of songs we're wanting to capture from our churches in the zone. Because I was really passionate about capturing vernacular music, not just white music in Africa, but like genuinely vernacular music. So it was in that process, we just kind of realized I'm actually kind of good at this production side of things. And so then it was like, well, it would actually be cheaper to buy the computer and the program for me to produce some stuff than to keep paying to fly to Zimbabwe or fly to South Africa to do these projects. in the long run, so we bought a computer, we bought Logic. I flew my producer in for a few weeks. He gave me a crash course, and that's how it started.
Yeah.
And then it turned into, I've been producing now since 2006.
You know, actually, I remember us having this conversation and you telling me that I do remember you going to Zimbabwe for a while.
Yeah.
And you told me that you were going to visit a couple of your church plants. And then later on, one of the big projects that you did was with the church in South Sudan.
Yes. So vernacular, we've done 2 now. So we had a church plant. Kachipo, yeah.
There
the Kachipo of South Sudan.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm shocked you remember. Yeah. So this is before I met Allan. My sister, and one of my sound techs, we flew into Mayun, where we had been able to reach a previously unreached people group. They'd never been reached by the gospel.
Yeah.
And some of our missionaries in South Sudan found them, started first a clinic, then a school, and then a church. So they'd started writing their own songs. And that's what I want to capture is the song of Africa, the song that Africa is writing.
Yeah.
And just beautiful songs. In fact, their songs, they're just awesome. Like one of their kickin' Sunday morning praise and worship songs, they sing it in their language in Kachipo, but what it says in English is, we thank God who gave us the machine to cut the trees to build the school. And that's the whole song. And they sing this thing like with fire. And
wow.
And I'm just like, now that is powerful lyrics. We thank God to give us the machine
to cut the
trees to make the school. I loved their music. And then a few years later, now after I got married, Allan and I went to Madagascar because God connected our church with a just wonderful man of God who is Malagasy. And he had a team of church planners. I mean, when I tell you, Mose, like these men, some of them don't even have shoes.
Wow.
But they love the Lord and they're passionate about reaching the people in the rainforest. So they spent a year, they all got GPS markers and they spent 1 year and they all went in a different direction. And the assignment was put a marker on the map, a GPS marker, wherever you find a village of more than 20 people.
Wow.
Share the gospel in that village and then move on. And in that 1 year, they had thousands of converts. They mapped every single village in the rainforest that they found. And now that is a network of over 3,000 churches.
Yeah.
So Allan and I, and again, one of our sound techs and one of my vocal directors, we actually flew a chopper deep into the rainforest, flew in a generator, all of our equipment, and we recorded the Betsimisaraka of Madagascar. Allan produced that album. So
can we have it? Is it online?
Yes.
Is it on Spotify?
Yes.
I'll be on it.
Please.
That's
so
amazing.
Beautiful.
That's incredible.
And what's cool is all of these churches that are these people are in the bush.
Yeah.
Like I was the first white person many of them had ever seen. No electricity, no running water. Like it's like the bush.
Yeah.
And so what they do is these little village and wonderful churches that they have solar powered Bibles.
Yeah.
And so now why we recorded the album, again, because my heart is I want to help equip the teams in these little churches. So now we were able to put praise and worship in their own language on their solar powered Bibles. Now they have praise and worship to play whenever they're playing their Bible because they don't have a written language. So they just have Pastor, what's his name? Pastor Dina. Yeah, they sat down and literally read the Bible cover to cover in Betsimisaraka or Malagasy and just gave all of them, here's an audio Bible. And so now they have their own praise and worship songs.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
I guess
cool
sometimes we take it for granted in terms of what the things that we have.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad to hear about the extent that you've also gone to use this gift that you don't think that naturally comes to you. You have to.
I think I stewarded the little, what was it? The 10 talents, the 5 talents. I feel like I was maybe given 1 talent and I was like, I'm going to multiply this. So I've done my best with it to multiply it and grow it. I just don't think I'm naturally good at music. It's not innate in me.
Maybe that's why you're so good.
I don't know.
Because hauna kiburi, there's like a sense, like if I had that gift of music that you have, oh man, let me tell you guys, I'll be untouchable. In my head, when guys are doing worship, I do these runs in my head. I try to do them when I'm saying, I'm like, Mose, just kill it. There's a reason.
It's in a dream world.
As if there's a reason you don't have this gift. But
I literally walk off stage and sometimes I'm like, why am I even here? Like, I'm still in awe. I always tell people, I feel like I am doing what I am doing and I am where I am because I just kept telling the Lord, yes. We need an alto singer. And I said yes.
Yeah.
And we need a piano player in City Lights. And I was like, I mean, I can play some chords. Yes. And those yeses have brought me to where I am today.
Wow.
But I don't think it was ever that's where I'm aiming for and that's where I'm going. Because I still look around and I'm like, right now, Allan and I are working on a project for Christmas. And literally in the last couple of days, I've sat there and I'm like, I cannot believe this is my job.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Like, this is phenomenal.
And you guys put amazing productions out there. Let me just put it out there. You know, guys, if you're looking for an Easter production or a Christmas production that's done really well, and it's a musical, yeah?
Okay, this year we're doing something we've never done before.
Okay.
In fact, we're doing something I don't think has really been done in Nairobi, at least that we've seen. So I am so excited about this Christmas. I am so pumped. It is going to be.
Do you want to let us know what that is?
I don't know how to explain it even.
Yeah.
It is I don't even know. Just come. It's going to be great. Be checking our socials and our NLC official socials. We'll be putting out artwork soon, but it's I don't know, babe. How would you even explain it?
We will come. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to make our way there.
It's good. Allan and I actually left town. This is the first time we've ever done this. I know people do it, but we've never done it.
Yeah.
We literally left town with the express purpose of we're going to write this.
That's fantastic.
This project.
Yeah.
Because I've carried the idea in my heart for a few years. And every year when we're like, what are we doing for Christmas this year? I'm like, is it time? And I've just never felt let me now unlock that idea.
Yeah.
But this year, beginning of the year, I told Allan, this year we're going to do it. And I've literally been ruminating on it for years. So we went out of town for a few days and we sat down and Allan he just kept filling my teacup like, what do you need? And I just sat down and I wrote it beginning to end. And now he's doing all of the arrangements for it. Oh my gosh. And then we've got a 40-person dance team.
Yeah.
Because all of the actors and actresses this year are dancers. It's going to be spectacular.
As we talk about writing and like, I'm excited about the Christmas production that's coming. Yeah. You guys have done some incredible music and I know, I do have a couple of questions I want to ask you, but let me ask because we're talking about music now. Yeah. There was your song when it came out, Kutembea Nawe.
Yes.
That was a banger.
And that song was not even supposed to get out.
Oh.
Yes.
So how did it get out?
So I wrote that song on my birthday when I just started courting Allan. And I was panicked.
Do you hear, guys? When she said courting Allan.
Yeah.
So processes.
Yes. I was freaked out because I was like, my track record of relationships to that point was just utter failure and heartbreak.
Yeah.
So it was my birthday. I woke up. I went to my office, which is also my studio, and I sat down. I'd had the melody in my head. And so the night before, I'd been writing in my journal and just in English saying, God, I want to walk with you. And I was specifically referring to Allan. Like, as we get into this process, like, I lead me, God. Like, I don't know how to do this. I want to walk with you. I want to follow you. Like, please just, I want to honor you. And I want to do this right. And I want to bring you glory. And I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do a successful relationship. So the next morning, which was my birthday, I go in and that's the prayer that's just ringing in my heart from the night before. And then I had this little melody. And so it was one of the songs that I had it written start to finish in 15 minutes. Those are like the best songs. Like every time I hear someone says I wrote in 15, they always end up being big. But I always feel like there always is that story as well of it had already been birthed in my prayer life.
Yeah.
It had already been brewing just in my heart on God. I want to walk with you. I just think it sounds so much prettier in Swahili.
Yeah.
So yeah, I penned it and then I recorded it, the demo, just my vocal and my piano. And And then I showed it to Allan, and Allan listened to it and he said, it's nice. And then I put it on my SoundCloud and moved on with my life. And SoundCloud, you're not supposed to be able to download music off of SoundCloud.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be, non-downloadable. So I put it on my SoundCloud and move on with my life. And you are the one, Mose, who called me and said, I've heard your song on the wedding show. Do you remember that?
I remember having a conversation with you about that song.
You are the one who informed me.
I didn't even know.
I didn't even know that.
Oh,
it was
my gosh.
So then my question was, how did anyone even get it? It was on my SoundCloud. I did not send it to anybody.
Don't joke with Kenyan hackers.
I'm telling you, Kenyans are powerful, powerful people. You are literally the one who told me you'd heard it. We had no idea because this was 2 years after I'd written it. I never did anything. I never sent it to a DJ. Moses, is not true. I never sent it to you.
You never sent it to me.
I never sent it to anybody. So we start hearing, I've heard it on radio. I'm like, from who? Who gave it to radio? I mean, bless God. But it was not ever anything. Then by this time, Allan and I are married. And so we literally, one morning we look at each other and we're like, I don't know. People are listening. It's on the wedding show. People are using it in weddings. So we're like, so we just do a video, Bana.
Yeah.
So we try. We literally, I think, decided the week before, let's just try and shoot a video. We shot it in a garage. I literally picked an outfit that was just in my closet. The only budget we spent on that video was the candles that are burning behind me and pizza for the guys who came to help us that night. We were a crew of maybe 6 or 7 of us. We shot it.
Yeah.
Allan edited it. No, Anna, my sister, edited that video. And then we put it on YouTube and we were like, okay. And then it just, I don't know. That's what I'm telling you, Mose. I'm telling you, none of this was planned. All of this was just, Lord, you have my yes. And oh my gosh, we were flabbergasted.
Did we not talk about you releasing that song? And because it was that song. And
no, you told me when you called me, you were like, Bex, this song is so good. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing? I wrote it. I put it on my SoundCloud and to God be the glory. Like things like PR or I'm like, what do you even do when you have a song? I don't even know because my process to that point had been you write a song, you bring it to your church, you sing it for worship.
Yeah.
And that's it. And at that point, I've produced NLC albums, I've produced worship albums, and the worship albums, because a lot of people were like, Rebekah Dawn Kutembea is her breakout song, her first song. And I'm like, are you people joking me? I've already written like 40 songs for NLC. It's my songs, I've produced them.
Yeah.
But it just hadn't been under like me as an artist, as it were. It was just all under NLC. So I don't know. So that's where we thought, okay, well, let's do a video then. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
And the video, I mean, we got, I think maybe like 40,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Just from that song.
I mean, that song.
And then I think people were also shocked to see it was a white girl.
Yeah.
Because they'd heard it. But now they're seeing Mzungu sing it and they're like, okay, wait, what is this? So
pull up.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole thing was just kind of like, it was just so unexpected.
Did you write the song, the lyrics in Swahili?
I yes and no. So my very good friend Georgia Lowe, who's also my manager, he helps me to make sure that my translation is correct. My tenses, yes.
George, you go way back.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was such a well-written song.
Thank you.
And the one that you released after, where you talk about Sayari and Maneno.
Yes. Maneno is my one. It's in my top 3 of my favorite songs I've ever written.
I like Kutembea Nawe, but there's something about Maneno.
Maneno is very poetic.
It is.
To me, Maneno brings out the beauty of Kiswahili.
Yes.
It is a beautiful song.
Guys, you need to listen to that song. It's on YouTube as well.
Yeah. Was it last year, babe? My album? I finally released my entire album. Was it last year? The year before. Yeah. And we released the entire thing on video. So it was all, was a video, an audio visual album. So Maneno and Kutembea were included because I'd finished my personal album about 10 years ago and never released it. So I've just been holding it all this time. And every year we were like, Lord, is this the year? Lord, do we do it this year? And we never had the release until 2022 or 2022.
And
is when we were like, yep, this is it. It's time.
Like, it's crazy, you know, how, again, you don't, and maybe it's a good thing that, you know, you don't appreciate yourself as much. Because at the same time, you are ridiculously gifted.
Oh, Mose, that's kind.
Like your songs are powerful. There's a simplicity with Kutembea Nawe. And there's a complexity with Maneno. But at the same time, both of them still so easily understood. You know, like the way we've said that Maneno is poetic.
Yeah.
But anyone who loves Swahili will relate with that song.
Yeah.
And be like, man.
Yeah.
I've never looked at God from this perspective.
Yeah.
Or the ways of God.
And I wanted to write a song that says, I'll never write a good enough song. That was the heart of Maneno is, can I write a song that effectively communicates that I will never be able to write a good enough song for this God that I serve. It's like a bird trying to explain the expanse of the sky. Wow. That's how I feel.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
It's really not possible.
Yeah. So that's why I love, because I feel like Maneno describes me as a songwriter. If there's one aspect, Mose, I would say, I think I'm good at this. It's writing songs. Wow. That's what I think I'm good at. But it's just the joy of, I could write 1,000 songs and I will still not describe how awesome he is and how good he is.
Yeah.
So the challenge for me was, Maneno wasn't really something that was like this deep spiritual moment with God. I think as songwriters, as Christian songwriters, a lot of times we are too mystical and we don't practice our craft. And so I have a daily writing challenge. I'll write a song a week just out of, I'm practicing writing. That's all I'm doing is I'm sharpening the skill of being a writer. I'm not just waiting for this deep Shekinah moment that God gave me this song. I think a lot of times what God gives us should be met with our readiness to steward that. And so I think a lot of times as writers, the heart is not the problem. The rhema is not the problem. We're not sharpened as good wordsmiths to be able to accurately capture what he's put in our heart. So Maneno was purely an exercise for me. It was not I had this deep, I'd just come from 7 hours of prayer and I'd come from the glory mountain. And it was literally just, I wonder if I can write a song that effectively says, I will never be able to write a song.
Yeah.
And so it was literally just an exercise. And then when I finished it, I was like, I actually really like this.
Yeah. It reminds me of, where God says, my ways are not like your ways.
Yeah.
Neither are my thoughts.
Your thoughts.
Your thoughts. As high as the heavens are from the earth.
Yeah.
So are my ways different from yours.
Yeah.
And so we can never truly grasp the magnitude of God's greatness. And I think now that you've brought out that with Maneno, it gives me a different understanding to it.
That's cool.
But the beauty about poetry is how, now that I've sat down and listened to you, I get, this is actually what the author was thinking.
Yeah.
Sometimes for me when I'm listening to it, I'm thinking about looking at it from a different perspective. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
It's multifaceted.
Yeah. Like this, I want to talk about the space of relationships, but I'm like, this could take like
that's a whole
an hour,
other,
just for us to dive into relationships. And my producer is like, yeah, it would be good if you guys could talk about relationships, And I'm
You're getting thumbs up behind me somewhere. I sense it.
I almost want to say, let's have the conversation for relationship. Let's shelve it for part 2. Would you allow me to have a part 2 with you?
Yeah,
because I do not want to rush it.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of insights and nuggets, that you'll be able to share. And some of the conversations we've had as friends, and we're talking about, because I've challenged you on certain things, and I'm like, man, she's still holding on to these things.
Yes, Mose.
I won't say what it is. You'll get to find out as you're having. Allan will be surprised.
Let's go there.
You know,
Part 2 is coming.
Yeah, it's because we've been boys for a long time.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and,
for sure.
But one of the things that we used to do as Nairobi Lighthouse, which to date, I met with guys and they still talk about Extreme Weekend. The impact that had in the Christian circles.
Yeah.
Like just bringing young people to the faith and making young people, like even like a month ago, I was talking to some guys and they're like, man, kumbuka, ile event ilikuwa na happen Kasarani. I'm like, yeah, Extreme Weekend.
Yeah.
You know. Like I think you guys were onto something at that time.
We were.
And I wish it never stopped.
Yeah. I think it was so awesome. So much good fruit came out of Extreme. So much, even of course, the fruit of souls primarily was just unbelievable. But also the fruit of, I mean, this is going to sound so immodest, but like the fruit of someone like me, because I was very early 20s during that time. And to this day, I'm like, how did they put so much responsibility on such young shoulders? All of us, not just me, all of us, you know, that were on the team. But it had such it was such a key part of molding us into who we are now, and doing what we're doing now. So that's what I'm saying. I think the fruit of Extreme Weekend goes even beyond just the souls that got saved, which that's the primary thing. But the fruit also of just how it grew us, it trained us, it enabled us, it opened doors for us. So I'm extremely grateful, extremely for those days. I think at the time, one of the things that we wanted to put a little bit of a shift in our focus, and I have a feeling this will come up in part 2 as well, but just so passionate about, you know, Jesus said, I've commanded that you bear fruit that remains.
Yeah.
And one of the things Extreme showed us is that winning the souls is so much fun. It's just so wonderful. And it is, I mean, Jesus literally said, go into all the world.
Yeah.
Like this is part of the Great Commission is we got to go. We got to do what we need to do. But Jesus did not say go into all the world and make converts. He said, go into all the world and make disciples. And I think even as early on as Extreme, what came to the forefront very quickly is you're going to get a lot of pats on the back for the numbers. Oh, we had 6,000 souls. We had 1,000 souls. Like, it's the same way when you tell people I'm expecting or I just had a baby.
Yeah.
The flowers, the congrats, the balloons, the cards, the baby showers. Like, this is the part, human nature, we tend to focus on.
Yeah.
But we got so many souls saved from Extreme Weekend. And we called other churches in. Like it was already that thing of you have to call the other boats. The fish are so many, call the other boats in. So we partnered with all these churches way before the event because we were like the harvest we're expecting. We already know we'll need help. But even the harvest we were responsible for. And this is after divvying out, this church, you guys take 100, you guys take 300 based on your capacity, the size of your boat. When we, a year, 2 years later, started finding out those souls, because we have them. We have the contact cards. Where are they? Have we made converts or have we made disciples? And so we just decided for a season, we need to pause and build up our leadership base so that we're ready to consolidate. Because the events, they're so fun. We love them. The impact, it's great. There's nothing bad. But Jesus did not say, I want you to bear fruit. Nowhere. He said, I want you to bear fruit that remains. His emphasis is on the remaining, not just bear the fruit. Because I think, this is just my opinion, when we get to heaven, I think the Lord is going to call us to account, not for the souls we won, but for the souls we kept. The same way I don't think parents should brag on the babies they birthed. I think parents brag on the babies they raised. Like you're not considered a successful parent just because you conceived and birthed a child. You can't say, oh, yeah, I birthed the child.
Wow.
Where is that child actually? Where did we leave that child? Like, you would be considered the most irresponsible parent if we threw you a baby shower and we had the most fun. I mean, making the baby, that's so fun. Who doesn't want to do that part of the process? And rejoicing that the baby's here. Who doesn't want to do that part? But the real work comes in on, you got to change that thing's diapers.
Yeah.
You got to teach that thing to walk. You've got to teach that child how to eat.
You've got to raise that child.
You've got to raise that child. That child is going to break your heart.
Yeah.
That child is going to frustrate you to no end. That's discipleship. And I think that's the part that I would say a lot of us were not prepared for or also didn't want to do because it's not the glorious part.
Yeah.
No one's coming to you with a big bouquet of roses because of how many diapers you changed this week. You know, we tend to celebrate the conception, the birth, which is appropriate. It's right. We should. But I think in the kingdom, we've taken that same, oh, you had this event and 1,000 souls got saved. Glory to God. And we're going to, wow, that's awesome. We're going to celebrate and rejoice. And we should. Heaven rejoices when one gets saved. It deserves rejoicing. But the question is like, Aya, where are those 1,000 souls? A year later, 2 years later. And Extreme Weekend for many of us was convicting. Because we had an event that a lot of people pat us on the shoulder for and brought us the flowers and gave us the cards. Like, congrats, you guys, you did it. And it was hard not to kind of be like, yeah, we did that. We hosted the biggest Christian event the city has ever seen up until that point. But it was a year later when I think, you know, Father God comes to say, Aya, all those babies.
Where are they?
Are you feeding them?
Yeah.
Are you changing the diapers? Are you teaching them to walk? Are you teaching them to talk? So I think we just kind of shifted our focus for a while on, we need leaders. We need trained leaders who are able to disciple and walk with people. And so that's where our emphasis moved, even as a church, just more, you know, we've not been called to make converts. We've been called to make disciples. So NLC's push has just been discipleship. I'd rather.
It's always been though.
It has, but I think Extreme exposed in many ways, we are not ready for this many souls. And Extreme was not cheap. And so it's like, are there better ways to invest this finance in ways that 10 years from now, we can still say, here's where they are. Okay, I'll give you an example. We started an internship program in NLC, an in-house. This is for NLC members. And we had done it for a few years. And then because of COVID, we had to obviously shut it down. So when we kind of got back into church life, before we started Emerge again, that's the name of our internship. What we did is we went back and we're like, from Emerge 1 to date, where are those people? And we could track every single one of them. And we have, at that point, by that Emerge, we had an 87%. These people are still serving God. Now, not all of them are in NLC. Some of them have left the country. But we can literally get in touch with you now. You're in your church as a pastor, as a volunteer, leading a small group of Bible study. Like we can give an account for these souls. So it might not be as amazing, but I just feel like in the long run, when we stand before the Lord and give an account, it's like we can show you where they are. Like it's not, Jesus even said, the ones you gave me, I haven't lost a single one. And so I think Extreme was awesome. And I do think, we're going to see, I think we've grown our capacity to retain. Because like now we do, Faita and Anna, who are our high school pastors, they do something called HXP. It's not anything as big as Extreme Weekend yet. I doubt it ever will be, but it's a conference just for high schoolers. I mean, Mose, when I tell you, I think it is the best event that happens in this city, bar none. It is so good.
Every holiday or once a year?
Once a year in April. Oh my gosh, Mose. Like, this is someone who has traveled all over, been to all the big events. I'm like, I go to HXP and I'm like, this is the best event. It is so good. It is so excellent. I don't know why there aren't 10 million teenagers at this event. It is so good. But again, it's just that focus of how many can we handle now?
Yes.
If all of these kids get saved, do we have the leadership base trained, ready to retain them? So yeah, it's a little bit of a shift in focus. But
I hear you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and it's one of those things where I'm like, when you look at the gospel, if I look at it from a music perspective, Extreme was one of those things that was highly impactful, even for gospel artists, like, for guys to get the opportunity to go and stand on that platform and be able to, to speak to people or even to perform. That was a big deal because there was a huge vetting process as well. Like
Very
you just
serious.
didn't have, every Tom, Dick and Harry going standing on the stage, like it was very thorough how the process was being done.
Yeah.
And so I do want to have, and the reason I'm saying I want to have the part 2 is because I have a daddy responsibility. I have to pick up some kids.
Yes, I understand.
But
I have a husband responsibility.
Yes. No, he's your baby. He's your babe.
Yeah, exactly.
I do not want to rush. I do not want to rush like our conversations, even about about relationships.
Yeah.
And people have had, guys be like, Bex is such a holy girl with no flaws.
Oh, let's tell them the truth, shall we?
She's like super perfect.
A lot of people are like, why did you wait 10 years to launch your album? And I'm like, honestly, it's because I was not living the gospel I was singing. And I had to wait to be living it.
Man, that's where we need to pick up this conversation from.
Let's do it.
Because I do not want to rush our time together because we've been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
And I mean, just like you've said, why did it take you a long time to release your album? There was a process.
Yeah.
And there were things happening. And so I do not want to rush. Kate, there's absolutely no way. There's no way I'm diving into that to rush it. No way. My people, I've got to do this, man. I need to take a break from the podcast because we need to have more conversation with Bex and the amazing story that she has. So we're going to have a part 2 where we'll get to go deeper, talk about relationships, her walk with Christ, as you heard. There's a reason
drama.
why. The drama. Yeah, there's a reason why it took 10 years before the album was dropped. So I can't wait to get into this. And there's so much nuggets to be able to pick up from Beck. So you cannot afford to miss out on part 2 of this podcast. It's going to be absolutely epic. And so it's your boy DJ Mo saying, I'm going to catch you on the next one. I'll see you. You're good, people.
Sounds good to me.